Glossary. Aaron's disease. Put in here merely because it might confuse the reader if we started right off with Admiral Skelly. Admiral Skelly, American naval hero, in whose splendid achievements men took an interest when their absorption in love died down circa 1900. Amoratory instincts, interest in sex, apathy, almost total loss of interest in sex, atrophy, total loss of interest in sex, attack, man's method of showing interest in women, so-called because of his brisk desire to get at the matter in hand and have done with it. Begoniaism, tendency of a male to raise small potted plants and not go out. Benign stupor, alarming condition in a husband or lover, which causes him to sit around in his bathrobe and slippers, brooding instead of working or anything. Biologico-cultural, a feminine type, one who expresses her erotic nature verbally. Bother, annoyance, frequently confused with pother, which means uncalled for interest in something, usually sex. Boxed in, caught or trapped, as a husband by a wife, or the delusion of being caught or trapped. Butcher's twine, kind of stout cord, of no particular interest to anybody. Causation, the factors back of a male's doubt or suspicion. Charades. 1. Parlor game devised by women to fend off men, 1900 to 1909. 2. Acting up in a skittish manner about the facts of life, instead of getting right down to them. Twitching, nervous twitching. Complex. Mental crack-up, caused by an emotional or physical inability to get away from or wind things up with a person of the opposite sex. Complete nuclear shock, caused by the discovery of a person of the opposite sex in his or her true colors, beginning of a general breakdown. Defense, feminine excuses, tricks, devices, etc. Delay mechanism, pother. Deterioration, benign, going quietly to pieces as a result of marriage or a love affair. Deterioration, malignant, going loudly to pieces under the same circumstances, fidgeting, bawling, berating, etc. Diversion, subterfuge, trick, employed by women to keep men's minds on ethereal rather than physical matters. Empiric, national viewpoint of sex. Erotic, of or pertaining to sex, usually in a pretty far-fetched manner. Exhibitionism, going too far, not really meaning it. Exotic, of an alarming nature, particularly to parents. Fixation, too great dependence on one woman. Pigmentation of personality, inception of general decline on the part of the male. Frigidity in men, suspicion, ignorance or fatigue, mostly suspicion. Fudge-making, feminine trick or device. Fuller's retort, a remark made by a Paterson, New Jersey girl one night in Paterson, New Jersey. George Smith, a despondent Indianapolis real estate man, pulling a George Smith, attempting to find something more important than and just as interesting as women. Julia Marlowe, actress. Libido, pleasure principle. Looseness of systematization, the going to pieces of a husband. Love, the pleasant confusion which we know exists. Loving, being confused by or confusing someone. Masculine protest, male disdain for things which he does not understand. Narcissism, attempt to be self-sufficient with overtones. Neurovegetative reflexes. A male's, particularly a husband's, quick, unpredetermined reaction to stewed vegetables, especially spinach, and to certain salads. Neurosis, the beginning of the end unless the husband can go away somewhere. Neurotic, wanting something, but she doesn't know what. Desirous of something she hasn't got and probably can't or shouldn't have. 1907 Panic of result of woman's inhumanity to man, 1900 to 1907. No better than she ought to be. Women's definitions: 1. Indiscreet. 2. Charming. 3. Pretty and vivacious. 4. Oversexed. 5. Living in sin. Norm. All quiet. Numerical protection. Other people in the room. Oscillatory justification. Reasons for kissing, growing out of the early American credo that kissing for kissing's sake would send one straight to hell. Paranoia. The last stages of what was once a bridegroom. Passion. Expression of the sex principle without so much fuss. Pedestalism. The American male's reverence for the female, or, better yet, her insistence on being revered, which amounts to the same thing. Psychopsychotic. State in which the physical gets tangled up with the spiritual, after the manner of a setter pup throwing a huntsman by getting between his feet. Pleasure principle. See libido. Possessive complex. Innocent desire to kiss and fondle, sometimes to maul or wool. Pother. Uncalled for interest in something, almost always sex. Protective reaction. Putting a man in his place. Psyche. Wings for the feet of clay. Psychoneurosis. Same as neurosis, only worse. Psychosis. State of being beside oneself to such an extent that it is doubtful if one can pull oneself together. Pulled away refers to the knee of a man who is suspicious or tired. Recessive knee. The outstanding phenomenon of masculine frigidity. Man's refusal to answer the pressure. Schmalchen. Samuel D., student of misbehavior. Schmalchen trouble. Illness commonly found in young ladies who read in cramped quarters. Smith George, same as George Smith. Swastika, symbol which distracted American suitors used to scrawl on desk pads, margins of books, and so on. Trouble Schmalchen. See Schmalchen trouble. Übergang. Period of transition during which the male strives to transmute his ardor for women into the semblance of ardor for games. Voyeurism. Sex kibitzing. This has been Is Sex Necessary, or Why Do You Feel the Way You Do? By James Thurber and E.B. White. Narrated by Mike Vendetti. Production copyright 2025 by Mike Vendetti Productions. www.mikevendetti.com